Very cool. So here we are. It's a pleasure to be here at NarraScope. I have to say that I've consumed so many wonderful NarraScope videos throughout the years, and to physically be here at NarraScope during the 2023 installment means a lot to me. So I thank you very much to the wonderful people behind NarraScope for putting this together and for collectively allowing all of us to come together and have really great conversations here in wonderful Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So as you can see from my slide, I am talking about a video game that I made. And you see this colorful character right here, this cartoon, and you might be saying to yourself, perhaps this character is the main character in that particular video game that I created. And if that's what you're thinking, you are absolutely correct. So you also may be saying, well, who is this character? So before we get into thinking about who this character is, I think it's important to officially get to know who this other character is on this slide, this other cartoon character, if you will. So that individual is me, and I'm excited to let you into my world so that you have a bit of context as to how this design comes into play. Just like you, I have a lot of different labels that are attached to who I am. And I think it's important for us to perhaps share some of these labels in an effort to really get the big picture. So some of my labels that I'm quite proud of is the fact that I'm a husband to an amazing wife. I am a father to a pair of wonderful sons. At times, I get to have the label of being a coach. So I have the opportunity to help mold young athletes in very substantial ways. And sometimes that young athlete is actually my own son. So what a joy that is. Additionally, I am a player of video games. And very often, I have the opportunity to play video games with my oldest son. So when I look at all of these labels, some keywords start to come to my mind. And the keywords perhaps would be care. I really care about interactions with other human beings. And there's also the word of playfulness. I enjoy being playful with other human beings in an attempt to really build a community, in an attempt to build and solidify a relationship. So the two main labels that I didn't mention that I feel I'm going to be really leaning into during this talk is the fact that I am a speech language pathologist, and I'm also a video game designer. And maybe the speech language pathology thing needs a little bit more context in order to fully understand the design elements that came into play. So the thing about speech language pathologists is we have the chance of working together with individuals who are struggling in some capacity with their communication abilities. So we have the knowledge in order to assess and diagnose and treat those individuals who are diagnosed with various communication disorders. And we can work across the age spectrum. We can work in the birth to 3 category all the way into the older adult category. For a majority of my career, I've worked with children in the age range of about 8 to about 17, 18 years old. Predominantly, I've worked with individuals diagnosed with speech sound disorders, autism spectrum disorder, and childhood onset fluency disorder. And that's the one I'm going to be really honing in on because that is the diagnosis that I've been wholly focusing on throughout my career. It is more commonly known as stuttering. And if you are overseas in places like the United Kingdom or perhaps India, that word is usually described as stammering. So stuttering, stammering, they're the same thing. They're interchanged often. So as a speech language pathologist, I am an associate professor at Monmouth University, which is about 600 miles to the east of here at the Jersey Shore in New Jersey. And I work in the Department of Speech Language Pathology, where I get a chance to not only help the next generation of speech language pathologists learn new things, I also work closely with the future special educators and regular education teachers as well. Also, each summer, I work as a camp counselor had a very important sleepaway summer camp located in Michigan. And this is a sleepaway summer camp specifically for children who stutter between the ages of 8 and 18. So I do a lot of design work in that I'm designing experiences, both digital as well as physical experiences within the wilderness, and how we can set up fun and functional opportunities to learn and grow in the woods during this camp experience. So in order to fully understand this video game that I created, I think we also have to take a moment to learn a bit about stuttering. What is stuttering? We can say that it is a complex communication disorder that often presents in an auditory manner that might sound something like this. So there's this temporary disruption in the speaker's forward flow of speech. And that temporary disruption we describe as behavioral. They're behaving in a certain way, but there are also affective and cognitive components, meaning the ways in which the person feels during that temporary disruption in their forward flow of speech. They might be feeling shame, fear, embarrassment. They might be feeling anxiety. They might be thinking that this is the worst moment of their life. They might be thinking that my voice is not worthy of being used because it is broken. So these are very real thoughts and feelings that my clients have shared with me once we get a chance to really build that relationship. Very oftentimes in therapy, I'll ask my clients, hey, draw a picture of stuttering. And it's not uncommon for clients to draw pictures, something along the lines of what we see here on the screen. What we notice perhaps is a painful experience, perhaps in the throat area, perhaps in the oral area. We notice a sense of being stuck, unable to kind of say what you want to say. And that certainly can create an unbelievable amount of negative lived experiences. One of the cool things about the summer camp that I'm a part of is we try to do a whole camp project each year. And we created a really great video this past year where we tried to think about how can we advocate for ourselves and what is the knowledge we want to share with others in a nice video format. So I want to show 2 minutes worth of this video that is freely available on YouTube. And this will be really the basis of the design work that I did in the video game that I'm going to be showing with all of you today. So that particular clip can be found right over here. I have it all ready for us to jump into. And the audio should be nice and comfortable, not too loud, not too short, not too soft.
The experience of stuttering is a combination of what a teacher may see as well as what a teacher may not see. It is developmental and genetically influenced, and typically begins in early childhood. Stuttering constantly changes over time, minute to minute, day to day, year to year. Some students keep on talking through stuttering moments, and some students withdraw from speaking or substitute words to get around it. The speaker's reaction to the stuttering can create increased tension and fear associated with communication. Here are some things campers wanted teachers to know about their stuttering experience.
So stuttering is different for every person.
It's not our fault, and it's just our way of speaking.
Sometimes my stuttering will look like repeating the word or the sound, or like a big block kind of in my speech, and like it'll look like to me like maybe my like heart starts to like beat faster, or my breath just kind of gets harder.
Here's me, and like I'm presenting with my presentation, and it feels like there's like 1,000 eyes on me, like, and then like I stutter even more.
Some people get stuck on certain sounds, like C's or G's.
One of the most underestimated things about stuttering is the emotion you carry with it. We have anger towards it because sometimes you get cut off.
The bottom part here has, say, person head who is thinking and asking for help, but people outside just stand there and take pictures.
So what we are able to see right there is a very real opportunity to think about the lived experience of stuttering and how sometimes that really does impact a person in ways that we might not necessarily notice at the beginnings of getting to know who that person is. So as I jump back to our slides, one moment, how do I make it big? I think press this button. That's good. So as we jump back to the slides, this is a nice visual analogy to really bring it together. There are things that we can see and we can notice, such as those temporary stoppages in their forward flow of speech, and there are things that we don't see. This is in the heart and in the mind, the anger, the fear, the fact that maybe they hate their voice. So we start off today briefly talking about different labels. How I'm a dad, how I'm a husband, how I'm a lover of games. So how about this label of being a writer? Many of us here, we are writers. And in a very real way, we do believe that words matter. We choose our words very wisely. We choose our words with purpose. In this video game that I'm going to be sharing with you, it wasn't uncommon for me to sit in front of the computer during the design phase, and I'd be sitting there for 3 hours. And in that 3-hour span, one sentence of narrative was written. And that's because of the intentional respect I gave to every single word that I put into that video game. So as writers, I think we're almost always thinking about the words that we read. And it's so crucial for us to keep our eyes open to read the right words. One of the ways that I've really honed in on the design process of this video game was consistently consuming evidence-based research that looked at stuttering, and in particular, looked at the lived experience of people who stutter. So when I read these words, some of this found its way into the video game. Someone in this study said, my experience with stuttering is like I'm a butterfly and I'm trying to fly, but I'm constantly buffered by strong winds. I can't move forward like I want to, and it is frustrating. Or how about this visual right here? The moment of stuttering is like a momentary suffocation. You get the feeling that you're drowning. Wow, imagine that for all of us here. Let's just think about what it feels like to be kind of grasping for air in a very real way. Or how about this last one? I'm stuck in a black hole where time stands still until the words get verbalized. Wow, that is a visual that is certainly grounding, and it helps me to not fully understand what it is to be a person who stutters, because I am not a person who stutters, but perhaps it gives me a very nice glimpse into some of what it might be like, and with that glimpse, I'm able to be of better service to these wonderful individuals that I'm lucky to be able to work together with. So we see these words, I can't move forward, it's frustrating, suffocation, drowning, I'm stuck in a black hole. A main theme of that is this stuckness. So the question I'm asking myself is, how might I be able to design a video game that invites some aspect of stuckness, but in a way where they feel like it's okay, and in a way where they feel like this is not debilitating, this is not me suffocating. I can be in this moment of stuckness, and I can move through that stuckness in a very real way. So I believe as my job as an SLP, as a speech language pathologist, I'm working to help the client feel less stuck, and it's my design job to be able to create meaningful experiences for them to kind of feel less stuck. And through those meaningful experiences that are very often word-driven, the words that I'm creating, very real change can happen. I believe that video games are meaningful digital experiences when they are carefully crafted with words that have purpose to them. So now I think we all have a really nice foundation in play that allows us to get to know who this colorful cartoon character is. His name is Rogi, and he lives in my video game that I created. And he loves to do something very much. And that thing is he loves jumping. Who doesn't love jumping? From time to time, it just feels right. We are very active creatures as humans, and we enjoy gross motor body experiences, right? So this idea of jumping is a nod to this idea of moving forward. When we are able to jump, we are able to move forward in ways that we can feel. This is why I created the video game and named it Jump Rogi. It's about a character named Rogi who enjoys jumping. He feels the happiest when he is jumping. He feels elated. However, he is scared to jump. Maybe this fear or this fright associated with jumping, maybe that causes him to feel ashamed. He should be able to jump, but why isn't he jumping? Maybe there's this embarrassment, like, oh, everyone else is jumping, but I'm not jumping. And then that leads to anxiety. And maybe he's thinking to himself, oh, people don't like me because I'm not jumping as much as other people. Or maybe he's thinking that, oh, they think I'm not intelligent because if I was, I'd be able to jump with no problems. And then maybe he might think that he is less than because of his particular fear with jumping. But I, as the designer, I want him to jump. And I want him to experience all the joy that comes with jumping. And I think he wants to jump deep, deep down inside as well. Luckily, Rogi is not alone. Rogi has a friend named Pi, and Pi and Rogi, as a team, they figure it out in very real ways. And this is where the narrative-driven design comes into play. This is where we really, together, will start to think about words and how the words have very real purpose in the design that we are doing. So this is what Jump Rogi is. It's a completely free online video game that would be defined as a very traditional left to right moving platformer. Lots of jumping, lots of intentional choices to jump in this place and not in the other place, because if you don't land where you need to land, then you need to try again. It is a browser-based experience, which was very intentional for me because I think about accessibility. How accessible is something to someone? I've done a lot of design work in iOS development, meaning the digital software exists on an iPad. And iPads aren't as accessible, in my experience, as things like Google Chromebooks, or just in general, a device that gives you access to a web browser. So this is something that is quite accessible to a lot of people, and it's filled to the brim with 10 narrative-filled levels that are linear in nature, and they do highlight what it means to be resilient. And when I'm talking about what it means to be resilient, I'm speaking about the character in the video game, their capacity to withstand or recover quickly from any obstacles that come their way, any difficulties that they are presented with. So there's this aspect of getting up again, right? You fall down and that's okay. You make a choice to stand up and keep moving forward. Jump Rogi was designed to be played together by clinicians working together with children who stutter. But it doesn't have to just be children who stutter. It can be working together with children in general who perhaps feel that they have trouble in something and they want to feel less anxious in doing that thing so it can open up great conversations. I believe that this is a really nice digital tool that can start beautiful and meaningful conversations. So at first, as the game players, we can talk about the character in the game named Rogi. And then that might easily allow us to start to talk about ourselves. What do we see in ourselves that we notice in the character of the video game? Because sometimes if we start to talk about ourselves at first, it's a little bit too heavy. It's like, whoa, hold on. The spotlight is on me, and it's like, that's heavy. I don't like that. So we detach ourselves for a moment, and we talk about the character in the video game. And then that builds a foundation where we can then transition to talk about ourselves. So here's the basic equation that I can show you before I show you some actual gameplay. Jump Rogi consists of 10 cutscenes and 10 playable scenes. And the cutscenes are my favorite parts because that allows us to have the narrative, the words in play that set the stage, that share the story that we can see a glimpse into the journey that Rogi is on as he starts on level 1 and then progresses all the way through level 10. So I believe that cutscenes are a very real, powerful storytelling device. And I believe that cutscenes do provide unique opportunities to really sit with words. Some of my favorite cutscenes in video games are the ones where they don't automatically transition. It's there for you to sit with, and when you're ready, you press a button and then it transitions to the next string of text. To me, that is powerful. And in my anecdotal evidence, I've seen children really sit with some of those words, and they think about those words in very real ways. So here's an example of what I'm talking about. Level 1 starts off like this. We see Pi saying to Rogi, "Jump, Rogi. You were born to jump. The world needs to see your amazing jumps." And then Rogi says, "But I'm scared, Pi. I'm scared to jump. I don't think I can do it." Pi goes on to say, "Yet. You don't think you can do it yet. I'll show you some jumps, and then we can talk about what you noticed." So that's a key word right there. I'm going to show you why we're talking about the noticed word in a moment. Rogi says, "Okay, I will watch you jump, and then we can discuss." So there's this very real fearlessness that is being highlighted in that dialogue right there. And that fearlessness is that Rogi is willing to watch. Because if a person is scared to do something, certainly them doing it brings some anxiety, but then even watching someone do it might evoke some aspect of anxiety. So it's beautiful that there's a real relationship in play where Rogi is trusting Pi and he says, "Yes, I will give it a go, I will watch you, and then we can discuss." So this aspect of being scared is very much in the evidence-based literature that I've been consuming as it relates to stuttering and different things that relate to a child and how they might be scared to do something. When they are scared, it very well might be because that there have been past events that have sculpted some of why they're scared. They might have been in a situation that caused some aspect of trauma, and that trauma stays with them in a very real way. So that's why I want to start this conversation of you might be scared and how human that is. That is okay to feel that way. Let's think about that together and let's see if we can make it maybe a little bit less frightening in some collaborative way. And this idea of you don't think you can do it yet, there's so much research that points to the beauty of small steps. Sometimes we see an end goal and it is massive, it is big, right? And that end goal is overwhelming. But if we can break up that end goal in a very real way, it might feel less overwhelming. And that's what design allows us to do when we think about video games. There can be levels. And with each level, that is a piece of the goal, perhaps, that we are working towards. So level 1 is a small piece, level 2 is a small piece, level 3 is a small piece. And when we combine it all together, wow, big gains are absolutely made when we keep working through the levels and get to our endpoint, which in this example would be level 10. So let's actually see some of the playable scene so that we can start to envision, well, what does Rogi see when he is trusting in Pi and Pi is demonstrating this idea of jumping? So we jump right over here to this little clip that I have here synced up. And we see Pi. I was super inspired by Flappy Bird. I think it's a fun and simple mechanic. And what we're doing is we're just double tapping and we are moving our arrow in a forward moving way. And with each choice, that person is able to hit the trampoline. There are 10 trampolines and you are intentionally going to hit all 10 if you're planning appropriately. So this idea of committing to the trampoline and finishing through is consciously or subconsciously, staying with the child in a very real way. And this idea of kind of hitting every single trampoline is further solidified in the cutscenes that we are presenting to the child. So once we go back to the dialogue that is right over here, we now can start to explore the cutscene that comes directly after. So we have Pi saying, okay, what did you notice about my jumps, Rogi? And Rogi starts to say, well, I noticed you moving forward with your jumps. Even during the times when you got stuck, you made a self-adjustment and you kept moving forward. So that's beautiful, this idea that he noticed it wasn't perfect, whatever that means. He noticed that there were some moments where you weren't moving forward right away, but you were thinking and you were planning. And that thinking and that planning, that's a part of the process. So why don't we embrace that part of the process in a very real way? Because you still were able to move forward. That was the end goal, to hit this particular trampoline, to hit the next trampoline, and ultimately hit all 10 trampolines that are in that particular level. Then Pi says, exactly. So do you think you might feel comfortable trying some jumps now on your own? And then Rogi, in a very honest way, says, to be honest, at this moment, I don't feel that comfortable. Could I watch you jump again, Pi? And that is beautiful when we think about a person's attempt to learn new things. We more than likely don't want to ever throw them in the water and expect them to swim right away. We want to provide support. We want to provide assistance, guidance, safety, so that person really feels like they're ready for the next level. So all of this dialogue is nicely, I think, combined with this last part here that says, I appreciate your honesty, and yes, of course, you could watch me jump again. When we dig deeper into some of the ways that I crafted some of that dialogue and that narrative, it brings us right back to some of the literature that talks about the idea of noticing and commenting on what we notice. It's so important for all of us to model the things that we want our youngsters to consider trying. If we can model that for them, they're able to see that, okay, if the adult can do it, and if the adult perhaps is not feeling as much fear, I can attempt to put myself in some of those positions, and I can really try out some of those things with the guidance of that caring adult. So we as clinicians, we can model, we as adults, we can very much be intentional with the ways in which we are acting. And those children, they're always watching us with the ways that, we're doing everything that we're doing. And I'm also thinking deeply about how words do connect to actions. So notice this clip down here that I copy and pasted from the dialogue. It says, at this moment, I don't feel that comfortable jumping. Could I watch you jump again? And what's beautiful about that is it's an opportunity for the child to really see this idea that perfection is an illusion. There are ways in which we will be falling down in all the things that we attempt, and it's our choice to stand up and to try again. So this is a great example of, quote unquote, falling down and choosing to try again. I have this clip here where we are going to see the forward-moving trampoline jumps, but intentionally, I'm going to fail and miss a couple of trampolines. And from there, that's a good opportunity for our clients to be able to see that it's not the end of the world. And in video game terminology, we respawn, and then we come back. And from there, we're able to really see that it's okay if we don't hit our mark the first time. It's okay if we feel like there is this moment where we might not be able to do exactly what we wanted to do. So bringing that back to the dialogue that helps to further illustrate it, we can see that the cutscene allows us to fully understand it. So after Rogi is watching Pi, Pi's asking, how do you feel now after seeing me jump? I feel a little bit less scared, Pi. That's beautiful, a little bit less. Sometimes we live in a very black and white world in that, okay, I'm scared today and tomorrow I'm not scared. I don't prescribe to that way of thinking. I think that there's a spectrum, and we can move through that spectrum in a very intentional way. So he's saying, I feel a little bit less scared. Is he still scared? Yes, but it's a little bit less. Just so you know, it's okay to feel scared. I feel scared sometimes too. And that is really important for that youngster to hear. He says, really? And as adults, I think that's so important for us to mention that to children. And as designers who are perhaps creating something for the consumption of younger people, maybe in some way, that's important for us to put words in there that highlight that. He says, yeah, really? And then this is beautiful. I didn't know that. Do you think it's possible to be scared and courageous at the same time? Wow. He says, yes, I do believe it's possible. So this is the friend, this is Pi, letting it be known that it is so human to feel those things, and you should not feel less than if you are feeling these things. And the lack of narrative or the lack of text here is so intentional. Sometimes in allowing there to be moments of silence, we better understand who we are. We better understand the journey in a particular digital creation. So that ... right there is silence, meaning we don't have to rush into something, meaning we don't have to just put words in there for the sake of words, because we recognize that silence has a place too in narrative and in storytelling. So there's silence there by Rogi, and the next scene is silence there by Pi. And through that silence, eventually Rogi would then say, okay, you know what? I'm ready to give it a try. I'm ready to jump. So when we think about some of the intentional choices I made there, it is predicated on the research that looks at the fact that open discussion about negative experiences is key. And when we allow there to be silence, perhaps that is an open invitation to feel comfortable talking about some of the past negative experiences that a person might have had. And when we have that silence, we are then building rapport, we are building the relationship, and from there, the player is more in tune, perhaps, with the actual character as they are progressing from, in this example, level 2 to now level 3. So what we're going to do for a moment is we're going to connect some of these bits of dialogue that are in the video game to the world of real children who have this particular communication challenge described as stuttering. And that's going to help us understand the next bit of clips that we're going to see from the video game. So here we go. I have this all ready for us to see right here. And I will press the button to make it a little bit bigger. And let's watch. It's just 2 minutes. Thanks.
Communication experiences often occur within the classroom for children who stutter. A student thinking about a past stuttering block or worrying about stuttering on a future word is a student not present for learning. According to neuropsychologist Rick Hansen, our brain is like Velcro when it comes to unpleasant experiences. It holds on to them tightly and does not let them go. If a student experiences something unpleasant, heightened stress may occur across similar speaking situations. Some students have strong fears associated with stuttering. Often they experience negative reactions from others related to how they communicate. This impacts the well-being and overall quality of life in a negative manner. Here are some reflections from our campers and adults who stutter.
My past years, we played games where we had to say like the math problem or say something fastest before the other person. We can't get the word out as fast as other person can because we have a stutter.
At times, I think I'm trying to rush myself to like get it right, get it out before my teacher would say anything.
Some classes it's easier for me to talk in those classes just because I'm more comfortable with students or teacher, but but other classes or courses, it may be a little bit more difficult for one reason or another.
I get like super uncomfortable when I just get like really called on, and then I start stuttering, and then I can like hear like comments about what people say.
Sometimes a teacher could cut us off if we don't, let's say, like, answer the question in the preferred time.
So right there, that's giving us a glimpse into some of the real lived experiences of some children who happen to be individuals who stutter. So when I think about the design aspect, I can't help but, ask the question, is this video game really about jumping? So as writers, we know that there are very powerful things that we can utilize to convey our messages. Things like symbolism, comparisons, analogies, metaphors, similes, right? We use all of these in very intentional ways. So what I was thinking about from a design perspective is this idea that we can replace the word jumping with perhaps the word communication or communicate or some variation of that if we're thinking about working with children that have communication challenges. So when I'm talking about communicate, I'm speaking about this ability for all of us to share and exchange information, news, ideas. It's our ability to share our thoughts, our wants, our needs in a verbal way. So I'm going to give this a try. We're going to read through a couple of the cutscenes, and I'm not going to say the word jump or jumping. And in its place, I'm going to install that word communicate or talk or something along those lines. So here we are, jumping back to level 1. Communicate, Rogi. You were born to communicate. The world needs to hear your amazing communication or hear your amazing words. But I'm scared, Pi. I'm scared to talk. I'm scared to communicate. I don't think I can do it. Yet. You don't think you can do it yet. Here, I'll show you some examples of communication, or I'll show you some examples of talking, and then we can talk about what you noticed. Okay. I'll watch you communicate and then we can discuss. So whether we're talking about jumping, whether we're talking about communicating, the major theme of all of this is that we are moving forward. And through these cutscenes and through these different playable scenes, moving forward is absolutely encouraged and moving forward is absolutely celebrated. It's a big deal, and we're so happy to be doing it. And I think from a design perspective, the background can add so much to the narrative that we are intentionally putting into play. So there are 2 pictures here on the slide. Level 1, level 2, you're in a gym type environment. And as you progress into the levels, you leave that gym environment and now you're in an outdoor type space. So this is a really nice opportunity for us to talk about this idea of jumping inside and this idea of jumping outside, or communicating inside versus communicating outside. How are they different? When we think about a therapy room, when you're doing something in the therapy room, it's a lot easier, if you will, because there's a sense of comfort. You have these 4 walls that are kind of, keeping you safe, if you will, versus if you go outside, there are no 4 walls. Anything can happen, right? So that's important for us to think about. And that's why I took it upon myself to add some of that into this particular video game, especially as it connects to the cutscene. So right here, we can notice as we're progressing, we're skipping some levels. Here's level 5. Good morning, Rogi. How was your sleep? Because he took a little bit of a nap. I had a really bad dream about jumping. I'm sorry to hear this. Maybe you might feel comfortable telling me about it. It's not saying, hey, tell me about it. It's inviting. Maybe you might feel comfortable. I still moved forward with my jumps. Even during the times when I got stuck, I made a self-adjustment and I kept moving forward, but it wasn't easy. The environment was so strange and I felt so unprepared, Pi. Let's work together to make it easier. Maybe if we try to jump in environments outside of the gym, that might help you feel more prepared. Okay, I'll watch you jump first in a new environment and then we can talk about it. So when we dig into those words, we see the dialogue was, I still move forward. The environment was so strange. I felt so unprepared. And the literature consistently says that when we are working together with children, we need to make sure that we are taking into consideration the environment and mixing up the environment in very real ways. Because with new environments come new challenges. So we should feel prepared in the design of the therapy that we are doing. So I'm taking that into consideration with the design in the dialogue and the video game that I'm doing. And this idea of going into new environments, it's like all of us could agree. When we are putting ourselves in uncomfortable situations, out of our comfort zone, we usually grow some muscles from that, right? So the more that we do that, the more muscles we build, right? So respect to all of us that are doing our things and trying to put ourselves out in different types of moments where we can kind of experience temporary moments of uncomfortable stuff. So let's jump into a scene where we can notice how things are coming together with our video game. Wait one moment. Oh, okay. So I think that this next scene is going to be great because it allows us to see the last scene as they are progressing. So I have it pulled up, and with each new level, certainly it gets harder, and there are new friends that join the party, if you will. So right here, the very last scene, notice we have Rogi, and Rogi is in the lead, and Rogi is doing exactly what he wants to do, and he has a friend behind them, so presumably there's this opportunity where Rogi was teaching a new friend how to do it, and notice who the last person is in the scene. It is Pi, that friend of Rogi that was there for him and that helped him to gain the confidence necessary in order to really see the very real truth that he is able to jump in very real ways. So we have to be careful and we have to make sure that we hit all of those trampolines. And once we do hit that last trampoline, we see our very last message. A nice fade to black. And then it's a repeating of some of the first words in level 1. And that was, you were born to jump. The world needs to see your amazing jumps. And from a clinician's perspective, I might say to my client, you were born to talk. And the world really needs to hear your words. Because if you deprive the world of your words, wow, what a shame that is. Because you're one of the funniest children I know. Or you're one of the most insightful children I know. So share your insight with the world. And this idea right here says, thank you for jumping. I do look at my clients and I say, thanks for talking. Because I'm a better person because I've heard your words. And your words absolutely matter. So as I kind of bring this to a nice conclusion, I'll just kind of sleep it there for the purpose of time. We're able to see just how important our words are and how we can clearly design words in a way that can help our player move through a journey. First, they're thinking about the journey of the character, but then with some guidance, they're able to think about their own journey and how there very well might be some similarities in the two. So I want to conclude with just a 2-minute clip from a wonderful poem that was written by one of our campers. Toby is unbelievably wise, and Toby is going to share these words with all of us that I think nicely connects to the world of Jump Rogi. We got this. I'll start here.
Stuck in a rut, stuck in a block. Fear takes hold, millions of eyes on my back. The time is ticking on and on, out of breath. I need to take a breath. In and out. Now I'm stuck again. The irritation is rising. Is it them or is it self-projection? Wish someone would save me. No. Could I save myself? Yes. Save myself. But to save my mind, I myself, I need help. Help to be independent. I need my space to be me. Words have worth, and my way with my words does not diminish that worth. Everyone must speak, and everyone includes me. I must say what I have to say. No one must stop me. I will persevere. The stairs that might not even be there, but I feel it. The wave of hostility. It rises from the crowd. Who will be passive? Who will take a stand? Someone other than me. Someone I can trust. I need that trust so that I can speak. Am I alone? Or will I have a guardian with a sword and shield? Will I roar alone, or will I roar with my pride? The ones who have my back. I need someone to have my back, whether that be from the ones I hold close, or the ones that live to teach and protect children. There will always be those that don't know, but they don't have to not know forever. The raging waves don't have to rise, for the waves can be calm. We can learn from each other and give each other space. I need that patience. The patience is key. I need to speak freely. Give each other the kindness we need, the kindness that I need to finish what I started. I will stand in my power and I will speak.
That is wonderful to hear that young person standing up and speaking, saying all the words that matter. Here are my closing hopes. I hope that maybe in the future there are more opportunities for very legitimate collaboration to happen. I dream of a world where writers and game designers and game developers and children are able to work together to create meaningful digital experiences that can help them move along in this game called life. I also hope that in the future there are so many more opportunities for video games to be played in schools. There's still a very real stigma associated with them being in the classroom. I think esports in some capacity is helping to take away some of that stigma, but esports is its own thing. There's a competition aspect to it. I dream of a world where there are more quiet games, where we can kind of be with the character. We're not competing, there's not the time limits, we're not trying to score points, we're just trying to understand the journey of some of these really important digital characters. And lastly, as I conclude, I would like to ask you to wish us luck. Us meaning me and my wonderful research partner, an undergraduate student at my university. We are officially starting our first research study on Jump Rogi, the game that I just showed you, and it's officially kicking off tomorrow. It is literally kicking off tomorrow. There's a lot of paperwork that goes into having these studies, and we have the paperwork all finalized, and we are also happy to announce that our study has been accepted for us to present it this September at Oxford University in England. And in my world of stuttering research, there's this conference called the Oxford Disfluency Conference, and it's a wonderful collection of some of the coolest thinkers coming together, and I'm really blessed and honored that we were both accepted to be able to speak about some of what we will find in our research as it connects to using video games together with people who have communication challenges. So hey, thank you so much to everyone here. It's a real pleasure and an honor. And we still have a few moments. If you might have a comment or a question, I'm all ears. Maybe our friends in Discord, maybe they might have something as well. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome. I actually do have a question. It's a question.
Yeah.
A lot of it's audible. Let me grab your microphone.
Cool.
So you're talking about it.
Great.
When video games deal with disability, they often try to model the disability metaphorically in terms of this speech fluency that might be interrupting the controls, interrupting the jump animation, suspending the jump animation. Did you think about that? It's obviously not the game that you built, but is there a game in there that you were thinking about?
I think there's a lot of opportunity to model unique ways that we might be able to better understand a particular challenge, or a way that we could maybe reimagine what the challenge means to the player or the character in the game. This is all very much a work in progress. I'm really excited to be sharing this stuff with NarraScope. This is arguably some of the first people to kind of hear about this. So I appreciate your question, because I'm going to think deep. I'm going to continue to think deeper about the ways that, mechanics can be intentional, more words can be intentional to really help build the overall awareness, or the ways in which a challenge might feel or be experienced in some capacity. Yeah, so thank you for that, Andrew. Any other questions? Eric, you got a question? That's my man, Eric. He's wonderful. It's great to see you, buddy. Cool. Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. Thank you very much, everyone in Discord, everyone here. Enjoy the rest of your conference. This is the place to be. Thank you, NarraScope.